In an ever-changing, fast-paced world, identifying the pulse of global happenings is important. Because it is the pulse that truly measures the real nature of world events. It monitors the shifting geopolitical landscapes and anticipates what lies ahead. At WION World Pulse 2026, we tap into the heartbeat of events that matter to you and to the world. 7 pulsating themes, 100 plus thought leaders, 1 dynamic platform, WION World Pulse. The rhythm of the new world order.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our keynote speaker of this morning. Please welcome Sri Lankan parliamentarian, our former minister, Sri Lanka, and current MP, as well as the national organizer, SLPP, Sri Namal Rajapaksa.
When it comes to young leaders in Sri Lanka's politics, the name Lakshman Namal Rajapaksa stands out. A scion of the Rajapaksa family, the eldest son was born on April 10, 1986. But before his tryst with politics like his elders, Namal Rajapaksa had a distinguished sports career in rugby. He converted his love for the sport into leadership as captain of the college rugby team during his time at Cardiff University and City University, London. His talent and dedication to rugby paved the way back to his home, Sri Lanka, where he played for the national rugby union team. He also became its captain in 2013 and subsequently retired in July 2014. In 2018, he led a week-long rugby training workshop in Srinagar for the Jammu and Kashmir girls rugby team. By this time, Namal Rajapaksa had already entered Sri Lanka's political arena, overlapping with his sports career. In 2010, he was elected to Parliament after winning the seat in Hambantota district, a constituency which his father, the former President of Sri Lanka, Mahinda Rajapaksa, once represented. A promising debut, the victory marked Namal Rajapaksa's arrival in mainstream politics. In the years that followed, Namal Rajapaksa's role in the party and Sri Lanka's political landscape grew exponentially. He served as the country's Minister of Youth and Sports from 2020 to 2022. In 2024, he was appointed as national organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Party. Empowering Sri Lanka's youth and promoting economic prosperity for all remain the key goals and foundational ethos of Namal Rajapaksa's political journey.
Everyone, Excellencies, members of the diplomatic community, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to address you today at the WION Global Summit, the Pulse. This forum brings together voices from across the world to discuss the forces shaping our global future. And we meet at a time when the global system is going through a major transformation. Trade routes are being disrupted. Technology competition is reshaping power between nations. Wars continue in different parts of the world. And the institutions that once guided global cooperation are being tested like never before. The world that emerged after the Cold War, a world defined by economic integration and relative stability, is now changing. We are entering what can be described as a world of shared and shifting powers, where geography matters again. Strategic regions that were once seen as distinct or secondary are now becoming center to global politics. One of those regions is the Indian Ocean. For thousands of years, Indian Ocean was not a zone of conflict. It was a bridge between civilizations. Merchants, scholars, and travelers crossed these waters long before modern geopolitics existed. Ideas moved across the ocean. Cultures interacted. Trade flourished between Asia, Africa, and Middle East. The Indian Ocean connected societies rather than dividing them. The relationship between India and Sri Lanka is one of the oldest examples of that connection. More than 2,000 years ago, the teachings of Lord Buddha traveled from India to Sri Lanka. That journey was not just spread of philosophy. It was a beginning of a deep civilizational relationship that still shapes our society today. Trade routes links our ports. Cultural exchange shaped our traditions. And over centuries, our people built a relationship that remains one of the strongest in the Indian Ocean region. Today, Indian Ocean is once again becoming center for global economic and strategic activities. Nearly 2/3 of global oil shipments pass through its waters. Approximately half of the world's containers moves along its sea lanes. The undersea cables that carry the digital lifeline of the global economy runs along the seabed. Energy flows through it. Supply chains depend on it. Global commerce relies on it. Indian Ocean has become one of the most important economic highways in the world. And when these highways are threatened, the consequences are felt across the entire globe. Recent global events remind us how fragile this stability can be. Tensions in the Middle East continues to influence energy markets and global security. And strategic rivalry between major powers is increasingly visible in maritime regions. When instability appears in one region, it impacts quickly, spreads throughout global trade routes. Energy prices rise, supply chain slows down, market reacts. And once again, the stability of the Indian Ocean becomes critical. Located at the center of these sea routes, Sri Lanka holds one of the most strategic positions in the Indian Ocean. Ships traveling between East Asia, Middle East, and Europe pass just south of our shores. For centuries, Sri Lankan ports served as a trading hub connecting civilizations. Today, same geography places Sri Lanka at a crossroad of global commerce. But geography alone does not create influence. Influence comes from how wisely a nation manages its positions. For centuries, in strategically sensitive regions, foreign policy must be guided by balance, foresight, and discipline. We must protect our sovereignty. We must safeguard our maritime space. We must also build strong partnership with all nations. Strategic balance is not weakness. For smaller states, it is a necessity. In this changing global landscape, India's rise is one of the most important developments of the 21st century. India's economic growth, technological innovation, and demographic strength are reshaping the Indian Pacific region. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India is emerging not only as a major economic power, but also as a stabilizing force in the Indian Ocean. For neighboring countries like Sri Lanka, this creates great opportunities. Our futures are naturally connected. Sri Lanka's strategic location and infrastructure complements India's economic scale. Together, our countries can strengthen regional stability and prosperity. There are several areas where this partnership can grow. Firstly, maritime security. Strategic cooperation and regional safety are essential to ensure secure maritime routes. India's growing naval capability and Sri Lanka's location create a natural partnership to keep these routes open and secure. Secondly, regional connectivity. Strategic infrastructure and Sri Lanka's geographical location will help the countries grow as a logistic, energy, maritime, financial, and aviation services hub supporting regional trade. Strengthened by India's national green hydrogen mission and cooperation, investment, our partnership can forge a South Asia's hydrogen corridor that secured energy, drives innovation, and makes the Indian Ocean a hub of sustainable power. Third, the blue economy. Together, our countries can promote marine research, sustainable fisheries, ocean technology, and renewable ocean energy. Another major feature of this emerging global order is competition in technology. Artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, digital infrastructure, space technology. These are no longer just economic sectors. They are strategic domains that will shape global power in the decades ahead. For developing nations, the challenge is to ensure that technology creates opportunity, not inequality, and that regional cooperation will be essential. My generation inherits the responsibility to navigate global change, not merely to react to it, but to shape the world where cooperation overweights rivalry and international law guide stability. The Indian Ocean must remain what it has always been at its best, a bridge between civilizations. India, Sri Lanka, and the countries of the Indian Ocean region must work together to ensure that these waters remain open, secure, and cooperative. Because if the Indian Ocean is stable, the global economy will be stable. If the Indian Ocean prospers, the region will prosper. For centuries, this ocean shaped our past. In the decades ahead, it will shape the future of the world. And it is the responsibility of our generation to ensure that it remains. The ocean of peace and cooperation and shared prosperity. Thank you. Everyone, Sarnai.
Thank you, Mr. Rajapaksa, for really, giving us a perspective on not just the India-Sri Lanka relationship, but the entire Indo-Pacific region. My colleague Mohammad Saleh takes this conversation forward with Mr. Rajapaksa.
Thank you very much, Shreya. So let me, in fact, invite our managing editor, Robin Sharma, to come up on stage and present the bouquet and memento to Namal Rajapaksa. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we live in interesting times. There could have been happier times, but unfortunately there are a lot of conflicts that are taking place around the world that are shaping our world. And Namal, you spoke extensively on the opportunities and also the challenges, where geography in many ways defines our destiny. And Sri Lanka is, of course, very geostrategically placed. But I want to start off by asking you, at this moment, what has captured the imagination of a lot of people is this war that has broken out in the Middle East that has been waging for the last 18 days that will have global ramifications if it has not already started to have one. But the incident that happened just 40 nautical miles off the coast of Sri Lanka, where the Americans torpedoed a Iranian warship, Iris Dina. You are one of those individuals who spoke out very prominently about it. Tell us, how did Sri Lanka feel about the fact that an incident of this magnitude actually happened so close to your coast?
Well, as you know, Sri Lanka was one of those countries who promoted, who was initiated non-aligned movement at that time, and also who was a very advocate of it. And also we strongly believe that the Indian Ocean must remain as a zone of peace and non-conflict. So it was disturbing to know that the war has reached our shores as well, starting from the Gulf to Indian Ocean. So I think this is where the Indian Ocean nations must work together. And I believe one way forward, out of many options that we have, is going to be the Colombo Security Conclave that was initiated in 2011. And the Secretariat must be established, and maritime domain awareness is something that is very important at this given stage as a region. And I think the impact is all over the place. I mean, it's not only to Sri Lanka, but one fact that we must keep in mind, that there's a precedent now. So the war, technology, military advancement is not only with the governments on today's context. And if you recall, we have gone through a war for 30 years, and LTT had submersibles at that time, and they had 2 torpedoes as well. And one was recovered, and one was tested apparently, and one was recovered. It's in the Trincomalee Naval Base. So you see different organizations with military technology. So a precedent in Indian Ocean, it's alarming, and it's something I personally believe that the region must take it very seriously, and to make sure things like that doesn't happen here in the future.
Now, the ramifications of what is happening, the global conflicts are immense. A lot of people say the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is shut, if it continues to remain shut, it can plunge the global economy into a recession. Sri Lanka is dependent for nearly 37% of all crude that it consumes, and it comes from the Strait of Hormuz. What is your plan? Do you have a contingency as to how you want to overcome the challenge that if 37% of your crude is cut off, that is going to be catastrophic?
Well, I mean, it's not a single challenge only to Sri Lanka, but for the region as well. And I'm sure the government at the moment...
No, I ask you this because you're from Sri Lanka, so what is your contingency plan? Yeah.
Well, our government is engaging with various stakeholders, various partners, and also with India as well, to make sure that our supply chains keep intact. And I think it is high time that they have a long-term strategy, and this is something that we would have thought 20 years ago about completing the fuel tanks what we have, and also looking for renewable energy sources to be expanded in Sri Lanka. But unfortunately, as you know, in subcontinent, certain domestic politics keeps on changing, the policies keep on changing. But I think at the moment, it's about engaging and making sure that the nations that can influence for a peaceful settlement must engage aggressively to make sure that the conflict at least go on a hold for a period of time. And then countries like us must make sure that we engage with our friendly neighbors and friendly partners to make sure that the supply chain continues.
Right now, India 2022, that's not a year that people in Sri Lanka will forget. There was what was called the Sri Lankan Revolution, or the struggle of the Sri Lankan people to overcome the economic hardships. They were unhappy with the government that was there at that moment. Now, you're from this very prominent Sri Lankan family that was in power at that moment. How defining do you think that year 2022 was? How does that change the politics of Sri Lanka? And how do you take things forward from there? Do you think things have improved? Because a lot of people said that they wanted growth. Sri Lanka in the last couple of years has grown at a rate of about 5%. Do you think enough has been done? What more could be done?
Well, see, 2022 crisis, it did not happen in isolation. It was a series of incidents that took place from 2015. And if you recall, we had East attacks in 2019-18. And then we went through the COVID. And 80 countries like Sri Lanka were suffering from the impact that happened from the COVID. And as you know, Sri Lanka is heavily depending on foreign remittance and tourism. So, and top of that, as you know, there are many claims and allegations by the US government itself, the President Trump itself, regarding regime change in our part of the world and how the USAID funded. So taking all these into consideration, I believe it's moving forward. It's about planning for a longer term, especially to make sure that our energy security is maintained and our food security is maintained. And I think after 2022, all political parties in Sri Lanka started redefining themselves, rethinking themselves, and realigning themselves into the modern context, because you see there is a rapid change in the voting pattern as well. So it's a question whether we are actually keeping up with the modern demands of the modern society, or are we following the traditional pathway of development and infrastructure?
My final question to you, Namal, is this. You are also a rugby player. Now, Sri Lanka, as we know, like India, is a cricket-crazy nation. How did you get involved in rugby? What actually made you, start playing rugby? This is unusual. There are very few politicians who play a sport professionally, and here you are, you play rugby, and this is the images that we've gotten behind on the screen. How did you get involved in rugby? And you also told me a little while ago that your family, there are a number of people who play rugby. Tell us more about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, see, my father's family is into politics, and we are a dynastical political family from that end. But from my mother's side, my great-grandfather was in the Royal Navy, and they all played rugby at that time for Ceylon. So from him to my mother's two brothers, their two children, and my two brothers. So altogether, we are about 7 in the family, from my great-grandfather, from my mother's side, who has represented Ceylon or Sri Lankan rugby, including myself. So for some reason, when I was 10 years old, I took my second brother to play rugby. Then when he saw everyone was too big, because he was 9 years and I was 10 years, and the rest of the people were all 15, 16 years. So one of us had to remain there. So then I decided, okay, let me go and start first and see how it goes. And well, it took me to the national level, and my two brothers also played for Sri Lanka, and I played for uni in UK as well. So it's something very close to my heart. And I think someone has to do something different, right? So I think we decided to choose rugby over cricket.
That's very interesting. Namal Rajapaksa, one of the most prominent politicians in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for taking time out and coming to us and meeting with us here in WION. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to take questions? One quick question. Go ahead. Yeah. Can we get the...
Thank you. Good morning, Excellency. My name is Colonel Mayank Chaubey. I had the privilege of being trained along with Sri Lankan cadets in the Indian Military Academy. I had 31 course mates, and the present Army Chief is my course mate. We were 31 cadets in all who came to our academy for training. Do you intend increasing the numbers? Because I don't see those many numbers currently. Military diplomacy plays a very important role in improving relations between two countries. Thank you so much.
Well, I do agree with you, because Indian training has been very much prominent in the Sri Lankan system for decades. And I think right after the LTT defeat, after we won the battle against LTT terrorism, our military strategies might have changed. We did change to the modern context. And the training methods and our approach has been changed. And also, I believe, as you see what's happened in the Indian Ocean at the moment, what happened in the past couple of weeks, and also the challenges that we face as a region, we need to realign and re-strategize, and also look at a strategic communication mechanism to keep intact with the regional cooperation and regional partners. And yes, I believe we must increase, and we must also make sure that the military diplomacy is something that is important for our nation, and especially on modern context. Thank you.
I think that's very well said. Cooperation and diplomacy is the way forward. Thank you very much indeed, Namal Rajapaksa.
A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Rajapaksa. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have among us today India's Minister of Tourism and Culture, Mr. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat.
India's soft power is rooted in its civilization, culture, and diversity. At the forefront of translating this soft power into tangible socio-economic impact is Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat. As Union Minister of Culture and Tourism, Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat firmly believes that it is India's cultural strength that offers the nation its most unique and enduring edge on the global stage. Born in 1967 in Rajasthan, Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat pursued a Master of Philosophy from Jai Narayan Vyas University in Jodhpur. It was in the same university where he rose to prominence in politics. Starting with the BJP student wing, the ABPP, he won the university president election in 1992. He later became the National General Secretary of the BJP Kisan Morcha, the farmers' wing of the Bharatiya Janata Party. In 2014, Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat was elected as a Member of Parliament to the 16th Lok Sabha from the Jodhpur constituency. Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat held various key positions, including Union Minister of State for Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare and Minister of Jal Shakti. As Minister of Culture and Tourism, Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat focuses on positioning India as a global tourism hub through sustainable tourism and cultural promotion. He has driven the Swadesh Darshan 2.0 scheme to develop sustainable destinations. Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat is also spearheading the development of the Yuga Yugin Bharat National Museum in New Delhi, which is envisioned as a living chronicle of India's 5,000-year-old civilization and is said to be the world's largest museum. From building national museums to restoring historical memorials and increasing tourism infrastructure, Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat is strengthening two of India's most key sectors, culture and tourism, as the nation continues to expand its cultural footprint on the world stage.